We are so grateful that you are here. We're going to take a quick screen grab and then we'll jump into our party tonight. Thank you all so much for being here and celebrating the work done by CCL and so many organizations, which we'll be hearing from Madeleine and Tony about in just a little bit. But the first thing that we wanted to do is just thank you. So obviously, all of us were a collective part of making the historic legislation that has just been signed today by President Biden possible. And we want to thank you as CCL leaders for making sure that the Inflation Reduction Act, the biggest climate bill in US history, was signed and implemented into law. So let's celebrate tonight. A quick little reminder, all lines are muted. We're going to have a chance after a while to jump into breakouts. We're going to hear directly from our wonderful executive director, Madeleine Para. We'll have warm, welcoming remarks. Tony Serna is then going to review our successes. We'll play some thank you videos from throughout CCL leadership and ask us to celebrate with a toast series. All of you can start thinking about who you would like to toast on tonight's celebration and watch party. We'll then actually watch the signing of the bill. We've got a 14-minute clip from earlier today, and then we'll jump into breakouts and we'll share a little bit more about what those are and where you can go at the bottom of the hour. So with that, though, I will pass it to Madeleine Para, CCL's executive director, and Tony Serna, CCL's vice president of organizational strategy, to take it from here. Thank you all so much for being here on the line. You're in for a real treat tonight as we celebrate such historic legislation. The floor is yours, Madeleine.
Okay, thank you, Brett, and welcome everybody. It's really fun to be here. It just feels terrific. So it is a privilege and a thrill to be here with you today on this momentous day. The President of the United States has signed into law the biggest climate legislation our country has ever seen, and he signed it because Congress passed it, perhaps an even more momentous step. So at this moment, I want to acknowledge a part of CCL that really helps us make us who we are, our optimism. We've always loved and often referenced the quote from Alex Steffen that goes, "Optimism is a political act. Those who benefit from the status quo are perfectly happy for us to think that nothing is going to get any better." Well, over the course of this Congress, we have stubbornly insisted that things would get better. We continue to show up, to call and write our lawmakers, to educate our communities, and simply to keep the sometimes tiny flame of faith alive in our own hearts that Congress could achieve something big on climate. And sure enough, they have. So from today forward, the status quo on climate has been overturned. Your tireless work, your steadfast optimism helped to make this happen. And this long and unpredictable process has also reinforced the nature of our democracy. Ours is a political system of negotiation, compromise, and working together with people that we may not always see eye to eye with. We already know that well in CCL, where we have a big tent that includes volunteers who are liberal and conservative, young and old, urban and rural, and from many different racial backgrounds and walks of life. Every day in our chapters and in our communities, CCLers practice building common ground toward the shared goal of a livable world. We saw that type of work in action in Congress these past 2 years. Lawmakers tried hard to identify common ground that they and their constituents shared, common ground that could lead to a climate bill being passed. And that process was messy, to say the least. Sometimes the process seemed sure to fail, but in the end, they found that common ground where progressive members of Congress and a senator from a heavily Republican coal state could agree. That process of negotiation led to some compromises. Frontline communities are rightfully calling attention to the harms that ongoing fossil fuel production, even in the short term, will cause. And of course, while the bill achieves massive emissions reductions of 40% by 2030, that number is still shy of the 50% goal that America has pledged to meet. And as you know, our preference is always for bipartisan climate legislation, which didn't happen this time. So there is still more work to be done. But today's a day of celebration. Tomorrow and the days that follow will be days of continued dedication to the policies necessary to build common ground on climate policy, to protect vulnerable communities, and to preserve a livable world. With this bill's passage, we're closer to those goals than ever before. And so I thank you and I congratulate you. Now, in a moment, I'm going to pass the mic to CCL's Vice President for Organizational Strategy, Tony Cerna. But before I do that, I just want to let you know that our Vice President of Government Affairs, Danny Victor, is not able to be here with us to celebrate because he's on, it just happens to be this week, on a much deserved vacation out of the country with his family. I'm totally confident that he is fully with us in the celebration of this moment and in our gratitude to all of you. So now a few words from Tony.
Thank you, Madeleine. I want to lean in a bit more to celebrating everyone who worked to make this bill happen. This is really the product of decades of work by thousands and thousands of people. The scientists who tirelessly work to compile the data and make the models that show the world the danger that we face. The storytellers who translated that science and convinced the public that we need to take action. The early adopters who heard the call and took action, making changes in their lives to reduce their impact and drawing attention to the need for systemic change. The engineers and scientists who have been researching and developing the clean technology that we can now deploy, and the businesses and workers that are innovating to make it more and more affordable every day. And of course, to all of the activists and advocates who have pushed for decades for action on climate in the streets and in the halls of power. The youth activists fighting for their futures, the parents and elders working to leave a better world for all who are still to come, those working for justice and the health and safety of their communities, who know that we're not all safe now and it will only get worse with a changing climate. And of course, to every single CCLer who has lobbied Congress, written a letter, made a call, talked to a friend or a stranger or 1,000 strangers about climate change, attended a community meeting, and pulled every freaking lever they could find as we pushed for real action on climate. And of course, what would CCL be without the respect and gratitude for our elected officials who voted for this bill, and to those who, after some more hard work, I'm sure will vote for the next climate bill and the next climate bill after that. So what did CCLers do to help get to this moment? First off, we never gave up on Congress. For over 15 years, we've been politely and persistently delivering the message to Congress that Americans want action. And in that time, we built up relationships and became trusted messengers and liaisons to their constituents in almost every district and state across the country, something few organizations can claim. And then when it came time to mobilize for action, we mobilized. Since July 2021, we made over 225,000 contacts to Congress and the president, including over 53,000 phone calls. And that includes over 10,000 contacts just in the last 2 weeks to put this bill over the finish line. So this is a victory shared by the whole movement and a validation of all your work over so many years. And what will this bill deliver? First, it will reduce America's carbon emissions 40% below 2005 levels, closing half the gap to our commitment of 50% reductions. And it's good for our health, it's good for our pocketbooks, saving the average American $200 a year on energy costs and saving over 180,000 lives by 2030. And it's good for the US economy, extending clean energy tax credits for 10 years and ushering in an era of abundant clean energy. Plus, it will supercharge innovation and incentivize domestic manufacturing, creating millions of new jobs that will transform our economy. And as Madeleine said, it's not a perfect bill. There's trade-offs that could do real harm to some frontline communities and programs that don't go far enough. We know there is more work to do, and I know that CCLers are ready to jump right into that work. Right now, we're still analyzing the details of the bill to see what it accomplishes and what is needed next. And that will help guide our next steps for what we add to our policy agenda to complement our work advocating for carbon fee and dividend. So more info coming soon on that. For now, our first priority moving forward is to make sure that Congress and all elected officials have a healthy appetite for more climate legislation. Now is the time to elevate climate in the elections and in your community. Let's leverage this momentum to build even more enthusiasm and support for climate action. So today is a truly historic day, and I'm so glad to be living in a world with people like you who have never been afraid to face an impossible challenge with hope and optimism. Today is a big day, and I look forward to more big days to come, thanks to you.
Here's to that, Tony. And if everyone here hasn't already gotten their toast glass ready, we're going to do a round of toasts that we're all inviting you to participate in just a moment. But to launch us first and foremost, let's hear from 3 leaders, 2 of which you might recognize from CCL, and 1 of which was a direct part of making sure the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, passed the Senate. Roast and toast CCL as well. So I'll let them take it from here.
Volunteers, your work was essential in helping us get the IRA across the finish line. Your involvement helped generate the critical ingredient, which is political will. The importance and persistence of not giving up was echoed throughout. You were persistent and you did not give up. This was a historic bill, the largest climate policy package ever passed by the US Senate. But we're not done. We will keep
You did
going.
it. You passed and had signed into law the biggest climate package in the history of the United States. The second biggest package was the infrastructure bill that was passed last year, which you also supported. This reestablishes the United States as a credible player on the international field for dealing with climate change, and that's a big deal. What's your reward? A lot more work. Thank you for being the kind of people that would tackle the impossible. Thank you for your huge commitment to this planet. And personally, I can't imagine a group of colleagues that I'd rather be doing this work with than you.
Citizens Climate Lobby, you guys have been terrific all the way through to get to the Inflation Reduction Act, the largest climate initiative in the history of the world. We couldn't have done without you, with all your support, the phone calls, the emails, everything. Sky would still be waiting for a climate initiative that will change the world, the largest climate initiative ever. Thank you so much for all your
I loved hearing from the three of them. And now we'd like to hear from you, those of you who are on the call. So we invite you to share in a group toast. What we'd like you to do is just go ahead and put into the chat a toast to who or what you'd like to acknowledge or celebrate tonight. And if you're particularly motivated and you'd like to share your toast out loud, please click the reactions button to raise your hand, and then one of our tech team will briefly unmute you. We're going to keep this activity to 5 minutes total to stay on track with our program. So we inevitably won't get to everyone. Thank you for your understanding of that and for keeping your toasts to less than 30 seconds. But let's get to toasting. So go ahead and put them in the chat. And while we're waiting for people to raise their hands, Brett, what are you seeing in the chat?
Toasting to all the volunteers that work so hard. A toast to our resilience, to my husband who has put up with me. A toast to CCL HQ for all that they've done to provide an outlook for our members. I love it. Let's keep them coming. A toast to Schumer, to Marshall Saunders. Here is to that. Thank you, Peter. Here's to Marshall. Elizabeth shares a cheers to the awesome volunteers in the Great Lakes region. We want to toast to Ted Deutsch. Thank you, Ed. To everyone in CCL who met with their members of Congress about climate change, says Dan. To everyone who has worked to help us solve the climate crisis, thank you, Francis. John, would you like to go for a quick toast as well? We'll click to unmute you there.
Okay, yes. Here's my toast. My toast is to working with continued optimism in the face of continued and continuing adversity.
Hear, hear, John.
Here's to the long game, the many years we've worked at this. And here's to Joe Manchin, who's actually in favor of doing something about the climate.
Hear, hear.
Here is to decades of work, and that we have come to this point to get a political solution after so many decades of denial and jumping through those hoops, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Here.
And here's to all the CCL volunteers who taught me to hear a no as a not yet and to keep going.
John, go for it. Take us home.
I just want to raise a glass to all the group leaders and other volunteers who always think they're not doing enough. This is to you.
Here, here, John. There's the
For sure. All right, Brett, what's next?
Well, I think right now, let's keep the chat going with wonderful tributes to each other and obviously all of the work that we can really sit back and enjoy tonight. And we'll actually tune in here now. This was only a couple hours ago. And again, we apologize for not bringing you in live. We just found out that the actual bill signing would happen at 3:30 Eastern as of about 10 p.m. Eastern last night. So we didn't want to keep anyone in the lurch any longer. So we're going to tune in now for a little 14-minute clip of President Biden, his speech, and the actual bill signing that just happened this afternoon. Thank you, and we'll tune now to President Biden.
Thank you, Majority Leader Schumer. Chuck, you've been a good friend a long, long time. And Joe, I never had a doubt. Joe had an operation on his shoulder. I just want you to know it wasn't because of anything we did. He's in great shape. And our whip, Mr. Clyburn, you're amazing. And I am reminded often by my staff, were not for you, your wife telling you to endorse me, I wouldn't be standing here. But thank you very, very much. And also Congresswoman Castor and my good friend Frank Pallone, Congressman Pallone. Thank you for your leadership. You know, while they couldn't be here, I especially want to thank Nancy Pelosi, who was instrumental in this law, and Vice President Harris for an incredible work she did. And I'm about to sign the Inflation Reduction Act into law, one of the most significant laws in our history. Let me say from the start, with this law, the American people won and the special interests lost. The American people won and the special interests lost. We're in a session of, for a while, people doubted whether any of that was going to happen. But we are in a season of substance. This administration began amid a dark time in America. As Jim said, a once-in-a-century pandemic, devastating joblessness, clear and present threats to democracy and the rule of law, doubts about America's future itself. And yet, we've not wavered, we've not flinched, and we've not given in. Instead, we're delivering results for the American people. We didn't tear down, we built up, we didn't look back, we looked forward, and today offers further proof that the soul of America is vibrant, the future of America is bright, and the promise of America is real and just beginning. Look, the bill I'm about to sign is not just about today, it's about tomorrow. It's about delivering progress and prosperity to American families. It's about showing the American and the American people that democracy still works in America, notwithstanding all the talk of its demise. Not just for the privileged few, but for all of us. You know, I swore an oath of office to you and to God to faithfully execute the duties of this sacred office. To me, the critical duty of the president is to defend what is best about America. And that's not hyperbole. Defend what's best about America, to pursue justice, to ensure fairness, deliver results that create possibilities that all of us can live a life of consequence and prosperity in a nation that's safe and secure. That's the job. Fulfilling that pledge to you guides me every single hour of every single day in this job. You know, presidents should be judged not only by our words, but by our deeds. Not by our rhetoric, but by our actions. Not by our promise, but by reality. And today is part of an extraordinary story that's being written by this administration and our brave allies in the Congress. This law that I'm about to sign, finally delivers on a promise that Washington has made for decades to the American people. I got here as a 29-year-old kid. We were promising to make sure that Medicare would have the power to negotiate lower drug prices back then. Prescription drug prices. But guess what? We're giving Medicare the power to negotiate those prices now on some drugs. This means seniors are going to pay less for the prescription drugs, while we're changing circumstances for people in Medicare by putting a cap of a maximum of $2,000 a year on their prescription drug costs, no matter what the reason for those prescriptions are. That means if you're on Medicare, you'll never have to pay more than $2,000 a year, no matter how many prescriptions you have, whether it's for cancer or any other disease. No more than $2,000 a year. And you all know it because a lot of you come from families that need this. This is a godsend. This is a godsend to many families, and so long overdue. The Inflation Reduction Act locks in place lower health care premiums for millions of families who get their coverage under the Affordable Care Act. Last year, a family of four saved on average $2,400 through the American Rescue Plan that I signed into law that the Congress voted in place. In the years ahead, thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, 13 million people are going to continue to save an average of $800 a year on health insurance. The Inflation Reduction Act invests $369 billion to to take the most aggressive action ever in confronting the climate crisis and strengthening our energy security. It's going to offer working families thousands of dollars in savings by providing them rebates to buy new and efficient appliances, weatherize their homes, get tax credit for purchasing heat pumps and rooftop solar, electric stoves, ovens, dryers. It gives consumers a tax credit to buy electric vehicles or fuel cell vehicles, new or used. And it gives them a tax credit of up to $7,500 if those vehicles were made in America. American auto companies, along with American labor, are committing their treasure and their talent, billions of dollars in investment to make electric vehicles and battery and electric charging stations all across America. Made in America. All of it made in America. This new law also provides tax credits that's going to create tens of thousands of good-paying jobs and clean energy manufacturing jobs, solar factories in the Midwest and the South, wind farms across the plains and off our shores, clean hydrogen projects, and more all across America, every part of America. This bill is the biggest step forward on climate ever. And it's going to allow us to boldly take additional steps toward meeting all of my climate goals and the ones we set out when we ran. It includes ensuring that we create clean energy opportunities in frontline and fence line communities that have been smothered by the legacy of pollution, and fight environmental injustice that's been going on for so long. And here's another win for the American people. In addition to cutting the deficit by $350 billion last year, in my first year in office, and cutting it $1.7 trillion this fiscal year, we're going to cut the deficit, point out, by another $300 billion with the Inflation Reduction Act over the next decade. We're cutting deficits to fight inflation by having the wealthy and big corporations finally begin to pay part of their fair share. Big corporations will now pay a minimum of 15% tax instead of us 55 of them got away with paying $0 in federal income tax on $40 billion in profit. And I'm keeping my campaign commitment. No one, let me emphasize, no one earning less than $400,000 a year will pay a penny more in federal taxes. Folks, the Inflation Reduction Act does so many things that for so many years, so many of us have fought to make happen. And that's the America I believe in. That's what I believe in. And today, we've come a step closer to making that America real. Today, too often, we confuse noise with substance. Too often, we confuse setbacks with defeat. Too often, we hand the biggest microphones to the critics and the cynics who delight in declaring failure, while those committed to making real progress do the hard work of governing. Making progress in this country as big and complicated as ours clearly is not easy. It's never been easy. But with unwavering conviction, commitment, and patience, progress does come. Your dad was right. And when it does, like today, people's lives are made better, and the future becomes brighter, and a nation can be transformed. That's what's happening now. From the American Rescue Plan that helped create nearly 10 million new jobs, to once-in-a-generation infrastructure law that will rebuild America's roads, bridges, ports, deliver clean water, high-speed internet to every American, to the first meaningful gun safety law in 30 years. And if I have anything to do with it, we're still going to have an assault weapons ban, but that's another story. And to get significant veterans health care law in decades for the first time, to a groundbreaking chips and science law that's going to ensure that technologies and jobs of the future are made here in America, And all this progress is part of our vision and plan and determined effort to get the job done for the American people, so they can look their child in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to make it sure that the democracy delivers for your generation. because I think that's at stake. And now, I know there are those here today who hold a dark and despairing view of this country. I'm not one of them. I believe in the promise of America. I believe in the future of this country. I believe in the very soul of this nation. And most of all, I believe in you, the American people. I believe to my core, there isn't a single thing this country cannot do when we put our mind to it. We just have to remember who we are. We are the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. That's why so many foreign companies decide to invest or make chips in America. Billions of dollars. We're the best. We have to believe in ourselves again. And now I'm going to take action that I've been looking forward to doing for 18 months. I'm going to sign the Inflation Reduction Act. Just make sure we get the right one. All right. Okay. There you go. It's now law.
I figured I'd cut out a little bit early there and miss having the Philip Sousa march a bit, but I'll pass it back to you, Madeleine, to take us home and center us in what we just witnessed.
Okay, that's the second time I watched him signing, and that actual physical signing of it just makes me happy. We got to be part of history. And yeah, listening to the president, I was reminded of the ups and downs that we faced together on the budget reconciliation roller coaster. And we still got to that bill signing. So we want to preserve this moment with the Kudoboard activity, and Brett's going to explain that to you, and then I'll walk us through the breakout room choices.
Excellent. Well, I just put a link in the chat. This is kind of the transition. We're right at the bottom of the hour, timing out perfect for the second half of our hour together. And what we'd love for each of you to do is you just visually captured in the chat your gratitude. If you wanted to put that together in the Kudoboard that I've just opened up, we'll put this in the group leader forums, the link as well. We'll leave it open for the rest of the week. And we'd love to just really compile a list of gratitude that we have for each other, a love story to ourselves, and the work that we were able to do to be a part of the climate movement, making this historic legislation possible. So when you get there, all you have to do is click on this little plus add to board and add your little story. You can see I just started this out here with my gratitude to all of you and what you've helped to make possible for our family. And so please feel free in the next couple of days to add your story, and we'll have a visual story of our collective impact at the end of that. And if you don't remember the link, I'll make sure to put it in the group leader forums and the site-wide forums after tonight. So with that, though, Madeleine, would you like to have me introduce the breakouts? Anything else you wanted to say before that?
Just thank you from the bottom of my heart, and let's go have some fun now and some more fun in our climate work. Brett, you go ahead and explain what's next.
All right, excellent. So we're going to have some fun tonight. We have 5 wonderful rooms that are opening up for you to partake in whatever flavor you are drawn towards. If you want to win a $100 billion investment in your community by winning the trivia game that Dana and I are about to host in just a minute, you can click on breakout room number 1 and find out how much you know about the Inflation Reduction Act. We'll play 20 questions. If you want to have a dance,
Brett, wait, Brett is funding that prize out of his personal savings, by the way.
Yeah. Yep. I was an early adopter for Tesla stock, so I got lucky there. The second breakout room, if you want to put on your dance shoes, is joining Tamara in the dance party. So click on breakout room number 2 in just a moment, and you'll dance your way through the decades. I think she's starting with the 70s, and by the end of the half hour, you'll get all the way to modern times. Number 3, if you wanted to join Tony for a policy Q&A and just ask more questions about where things stand now with the IRA passing, or in general, just have some questions, Tony's going to do his best to moderate that fracas and have a chance to talk with all of you interested to talk shop on policy. We've got a conversation room if you wanted to just revel in the moment and enjoy your favorite CCL memories with long-term or new volunteers and friends. Ellie is going to do a wonderful job of moderating that conversation room. And then if you just want to have open space, maybe you have a couple of friends or a couple of people throughout the state that you'd like to join an open room on, feel free in the chat to share where you're going to go. We've got open room number 1, 2, and 3 for that space. Thank you everyone so much, and we will look forward to continuing the celebration after tonight. We so appreciate you joining us tonight. We've got 20 questions. We'll get started in just a little bit, and speed moves, so move fast, as our little reminder says. All right, well, hearing none, I think we're ready to have fun. Dana, do you feel like everyone's going to be up for this? These are pretty hard questions.
I think CCL volunteers are ready for this.
One other little pro tip, I'm not going to put this link in the chat, but you're welcome to find it on your own. All of the questions, the following 20 questions are taken from CCL's training with Dana on the Inflation Reduction Act. So if you're looking for a single source, you can find your way there on community or YouTube, and you'll probably do pretty well on this. All right, so with that, I will be your MC. Dana's going to be your color commentator. You're more than welcome again to follow along. If you haven't already joined us, there's the link. You can join late. But let's start with the first question. And here we are. Before being called the Inflation Reduction Act, the bill that included these major climate provisions was known as this title. Here are the 4 answers. Each of these has 20 seconds for you to answer. Yep, click on your answer. Everyone's probably picking back building better. But then in about 2 seconds, you'll see this countdown timer wind down, and you'll see what the answers are. All right. Dana, what are you seeing here after the first question?
Like almost everybody got it right. Build Back Better. Our staff joke was that they were going to rename it the Joe Manchin is Awesome Act to make sure he was going to vote for it. But Inflation Reduction Act was also a good choice.
So right now, we're going to see a top 10 leaderboard each time. We kind of started off easy just to make sure you felt comfortable with this. Bill Blancato is in a 10-way tie with a whole bunch of other CCL leaders. Congratulations, Bill, for jockeying for that $100 billion. And let's jump into question number 2. The Center for a Responsible Federal Budget predicts that the IRA will provide very modestly reduced inflationary pressures in the near term while lowering the risk of persistent inflation over time. Is this statement true or false? What do you think, Dana?
Well, I don't want to give anybody hints, but I think most of the people are going to get this one right.
All right, we'll see. You've got 7 seconds to submit. Looks like we've got 38 people that entered their results. And let's find out right now which of these it is.
Yes, okay.
Excellent. True. Just a reminder, if you are unmuted, make sure to be muted if you have any background noise. And a very specific quote to make up. You got it right, Topher. All right, so it looks like we're starting to winnow the field a little bit. We still got 9 people that are at that perfect 1,000 per answer average. Let's see if Ellen and Francis and Jeff can hold on for question number 3. What provision for natural climate solutions isn't, with a capital isn't, in the Inflation Reduction Act? We got 20 seconds to answer this. Dana, what are you seeing? What are our options here?
Yeah, forestry programs, $5 billion, cow burp taxes, $40 billion, and climate smart agriculture and conservation, $21 billion.
All right, get those answers in. We got 3 seconds left.
Little giveaway that, well, you know, cow burps and cow farts, both very popular answers.
There we go. Looks like most people were on to our negative answer there. So a leaderboard check-in here. The winning continues to happen. We've got an 8-way tie now. Ooh, looks like Topher, Steven, Sean, Lisa, you're creeping up there. Keep up the great work. Question number 4. What provisions for domestic manufacturing and innovation aren't in the IRA? I sense a theme here. Dana, what are our choices?
Safe and permanent nuclear storage, $60 billion for domestic clean energy manufacturing, $250 billion in loan authority to the DOE, and $3 billion for the 45Q tax credit for carbon sequestration.
Excellent. Get those results in. We got another couple of seconds. And with that, I'm going to submit. Here is what we were looking for. Dana, was this the right one?
Yes, indeed. There's no nuclear storage stuff in the bill.
So with that, let's see if we tripped anyone up. We've got, oh, all right. We've got 2 people left with a perfect 1,000 average. Lisa and Francis, good work. All right, so question number 5. This one, good luck. Let's see if you've been reading the legislative text. What year will the fee or charge on methane pollution start? Dana, what are you seeing here?
Does it start immediately this year, 2020, 2022, next year, 2023, or does it take a little bit and start in 2024 or 2025?
I don't know. And to answer the question, obviously, that's in the chat from Stephen, yes, there is a methane fee or charge in the bill. So feel free to get those answers in. And here we are. Dana, what's the right answer?
It is 2024. So it looks like almost half of the people got it right. That's pretty good. That was a tough one.
Excellent. All right. So with that, we've got a shifting of the
Go, Lisa.
leaderboard. Great work, Lisa. Let's see if you can keep the streak alive. And this one's a little bit of a tongue-tie twister, but what we're looking for is a multiplier here. So how many times more are the emission cuts from the IRA or the Inflation Reduction Act projected to be than the increased emissions from the support it extends to fossil fuels? So it's kind of a ratio. Is it 3 to 1, 50 to 1? You tell us. 20 seconds on the clock. What are you seeing, Dana?
Yeah, so this is, people were very concerned about the emissions that would be created by the oil and gas leases, and there were a bunch of analyses looking at how much more the cuts would be from the good stuff in the bill. So is it more than 10 times, more than 5 times, more than 3 times, or more than 2 times?
All right, survey says the highest possible multiplier. Dana, where's that source from?
That's right. So NRDC said at least 10 times, but then a couple other groups said more like 25 times. So we were conservative, but at least 10 times more in emissions cuts than emissions growth from the oil and gas. Lisa got it again.
Lisa, with Beth really close behind, and Brian, this is great. We have a lot of smart people here. I'm impressed. Good work, everyone. We're going to keep it going. What doesn't the Inflation Reduction Act accomplish? Now, this is the first question that you're going to be prompted to, before submitting. You can check more than one right answer. So you can check any or all of these that you think apply to this answer. What doesn't the bill accomplish? What are you seeing, Dana?
So does the bill not have a carbon fee? Does it not reach net zero emissions or get us to net zero emissions by 2050? And does it not get us to our 2030 Paris commitment of 50% cuts below 2005 levels?
I think we can only check one.
Yeah, it looks like we can only check one.
Uh-oh. Well, then no worries. I'm getting that from a lot of people. That probably was an error on the setup man. So blame Brett. And if you didn't get this, I'm guessing nobody did. So that will be something that at this point we'll revise when we're sharing out the template for anyone afterwards. You're correct. All 3 of them should be options. So don't worry, it didn't advantage anyone. Everyone got that wrong. And Lisa will still count your streak as perfect. Wait a second. Beth, how did you get all 3?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Were you able to check all 3, Beth?
I tapped them, but they didn't change color for me.
I think we got full credit for any of them.
Oh, okay.
Everybody jumped a lot of points there.
Oh, okay, maybe that's it. Okay, that's helpful, Ted. Thank you. Yeah, so maybe it's just a matter of at least checking one of them. I'm sorry, there's a couple of those check all that apply questions. I hope that I got some of them right, but we'll find out. And if not, we learn from this that just tap one of them quickly and you'll still get some points. So, all right, so with that, let's move along. And the next question is about federal agencies and which one isn't prominently featured in the implementation of the Inflation Reduction Act. Let's jump right in. Dana, what are you seeing?
So yeah, do we have the Department of Education, the EPA, the Department of Energy, or the Department of Labor as the federal agency that's not prominently featured or impacted by the bill?
All right, it's a tough one. We love our executive branch. Let's find out who's not going to be partying with the IRA. What do you see, Dana?
Yeah, Department of Education. Looks like almost everybody got that, and that is correct. EPA's got lots of stuff with like the methane fee, for example.
Oh, I have a technical question here.
Right.
When I click on them, it doesn't show. Is this, am I part of this game, or is this not working?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Roseanne, if you wanted to chat with me in the chat. I don't want to kind of take away everyone from
Okay.
the forward momentum, but I'll try to troubleshoot you and I privately in the chat. All right, so this is from today, and it's a picture of the bill signing. Who is not there with President Biden? Little photo ID.
Yeah, so we just got to watch this and got to figure out who's missing. Is it Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Jim Clyburn or our buddy Joe Manchin?
All right, we still got 1 second. All the answers are in. And what are you seeing, Dana?
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi was not there. Most people got that right. Joe Manchin got the pen, so he gets bonus points.
All right, excellent. And did that impact our leaderboard?
That's cleaning up pretty good.
All right, good work, guys and gals and everyone here. Here we go. I think we're halfway through. Based on research led by Dr. Drew Shindell between 2023 and 2030, which of these projections isn't going to happen with the IRA?
Yeah, so will the IRA prevent ocean levels from rising more than another 8 to 9 inches? Will it not prevent 180,000 premature deaths from avoided air pollution, or 10 million fewer lost work days due to reduced air pollution, or 60,000 fewer incidents of dementia, also due to less air pollution?
I'm still seeing a couple of results waiting to trickle in. So you check which one you think it is. And with that, we've reached the 20-second mark. So Dana, tell us what the answer is.
Yeah, it's the first one. Sea levels are still going to rise, but it is going to prevent lots of health impacts because we're going to have much cleaner air.
All right, good work. And congratulations, Perry, on finding your niche for trivia topics. Let's see if that, oh, that's taking you closer to the top. Watch out for Perry, everyone. We got some humble bragging going on in the chat here. All right. Based on polling done by Data for Progress after the Senate's passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, which of the following poll results did they find? Dana, what are you seeing?
Yeah, so did they find that Democratic leading voters had 10% support for the bill, that all likely voters had 64% for the IRA, that Republican voters had 78% support for the IRA, or that 12% of independent voters supported the IRA? Just one of those is true.
All right, with that, we've reached the 20-second mark. And Dana, what is the result?
The result is that 64% of all likely voters supported the bill, which is correct. It was like 90-something% of Democrats. It was like 40-ish% of Republicans and like 60-something% of independents.
Excellent. And all of these, again, are available if you go to CCL's training center or YouTube channel for more information later on. All right, we still got a bottleneck up top here. We've got 6 people with over 10,000 points. Keep up the great work, everyone. And we've still got, I believe, 7 questions left. So in their central emission scenario, what does the Rhodium Group project as the change in household energy costs in 2030 compared to 2021? Now, again, this is a check all that apply scenario. So if I got it incorrectly set up, just click one very quickly. What do you see, Dana?
So will electricity costs by household decrease by $63 a year, home energy costs by $105 per year, home mobility costs, generally EVs, by $857 per year, and home robot usage by 53%.
All right. One of these things is not like the other. All right, let's see if that one worked. All right, well, good enough. Clearly everyone could pick one. I'm glad for that. Thank you, everyone, for rolling with it. I thought that I'd set that up correctly, but is this correct, Dana?
Yeah, the first 3 are right. There's nothing about robot usage, surprisingly enough, in the IRA. So no reduction in home robot usage.
All right, so leaderboard shows, again, a continually contested race. Good work, John. I see you keeping up there. Good work. Where do most of the Inflation Reduction Act's emission cuts come from, Dana?
Yeah, so we've got clean energy tax credits in there. We've, of course, got the methane fee combined with the EPA methane regulations. We got building electrification and efficiency rebates and tax credits. And there's also carbon capture from the industrial sector they're all playing a role. Which one's the biggest one?
No, you go ahead.
Let's find
We've
out.
got enough.
All right, I'm just going to mute you 907 because we can hear you talking. Is that the
Yep.
right answer?
That is right. It's the clean energy tax credits that are something like a third of the cuts in the bill coming from that big chunk of solar and wind energy for the most part.
Good work. We couldn't fool most of you. And so with that, we've got a pretty static gelled leaderboard. Let's see if we can get any breaking in. All right, next question. What is the average projected amount of emission reductions relative to 2005 levels that the IRA is expected to help bring the US total down to by 2030?
All right. Anybody who's been listening to me over the past 2 weeks knows this one. Is it 20% below 2005 by 2030, 30%, 40%, or 50% below
Wow,
2000?
everyone has already submitted, so I'm going to
Better have all got it right.
Good work.
It is 40%.
Clearly,
So,
the messaging has worked.
Messaging worked pretty well.
All right, good work, everyone. We still got the usual suspects. I guess the real question right now is everyone is going to keep up with Beth or Lisa. When will their resolve crack? Let's find out. Which of these programs will be funded by the Inflation Reduction Act? Uh-oh, another check all that apply one. Be warned. Here we go.
All right, so we got the coal tax extension to fund the Black Lung Disability Trust Fund, tax credits for low carbon hydrogen, tax credits for nuclear power, and tax credits for aviation fuels, reducing emissions by at least 50% below current fuels.
All right, I think we're almost all in. Just a little last warning for anyone else. And the great news, Dana, is what?
All the above.
Woohoo! They're all winners. Definitely huge.
Especially if you've got black lung, then you're a really big winner.
Yeah, that is a huge benefit. And with that, we've got a little bit of shaken up here. Perry, starting to look behind you there, Beth. Watch out. Perry and Sean are hot to trot right behind. Lisa's still in the race. And which of these policies isn't included in the Inflation Reduction Act? So this is one.
All right, so is there or not $3 billion for the post office to buy more EVs, $270 billion for high transmission voltage lines across the Midwest Plains, $27 billion for a green tech accelerator or National Green Bank, and $60 billion in environmental justice priorities to invest in disadvantaged communities?
All right, what do you think, Dana?
Well, I know the answer.
All right, I think all of our answers are in.
Yeah, most people got it. There's nothing about high voltage transmission lines across the Midwest Plains, but all the other good stuff is in there.
Excellent. Did that shake anything up? Oh, look at that tight spread. This is so tight up top. This is great. Good competition. Nothing like a nail biter at the end here. All right, so which of these rebates are included for everyday Americans in the IRA? Check all that apply again. So remember, you might want to just start mashing those buttons quick.
Is there heat pump space heater $8,000 rebates, and heat pump water heaters $1,750, and heat pump dryers $840, electric stoves $840, home wiring and breaker box upgrades several $1,000s, and better home insulation and windows rebates $1,600.
That's a lot of money, Dana. Is that going to be included in the $100 billion we're giving away?
Well, you're giving away.
Oh, I thought it was the Royal Week. All right, let's find out. Is it all of them, perhaps?
It's all of them.
All right.
That wasn't an option.
All right, there we go. Good work. That didn't seem to shake anything up. We can't pull the wool over anyone's eyes. And let's find out a part two if that trips anyone. Which of these rebates are included for everyday Americans in the IRA? Check all that apply.
$7,500 and $4,000 for new and used EVs, a 30% tax credit for rooftop solar panels and battery storage, $200 million to train contractors in electrification and efficiency, and $5 billion for the first 5 homes to run on cold fusion.
All right. Which one of these is the lucky winner?
I wish there was $5 billion for the first 5 homes to run on cold fusion, but unfortunately, think cold fusion's still a ways off, and so that was not included in the IRA, but the rest were.
Good work, team.
I cracked. I read the question wrong.
Oh, wow. Beth, how
I read it as what's not included.
Oh, no, man. Oh, the logic.
Not.
All right. Hey, we got to get going here because we only have a couple minutes left. According to the Energy Innovation, how many American jobs are projected to be created by 2030 due to the IRA?
300,000 jobs, 1.5 million jobs, 5 million jobs, or 14 million jobs created in 2030 due to the Inflation Reduction Act.
Good question.
Nice big numbers no matter what.
Final seconds and get those answers in. The answer?
1.5 million. About half people got it right. That might break up the leaderboard a little bit.
Oh, let's see here. We only got a couple questions left. Oh,
Harry.
Oh, this is
Harry's at the top.
Oh, this is so fun and exciting. Good work, everyone. We couldn't have planned this better. All right, so where is the best place after tonight? I actually think this is our last question to get your friends and family to help thank your Democratic members of Congress for passing the IRA. You
Don't
pick
blow this, Barry. Whitehouse.gov, cclusa.org/action, congress.gov, or waybackmachine.org.
Nothing like those web archives, right?
Ah, I love the web archives.
All right, let's find out. I think everyone's in. And drum roll.
cclusa.org/action.
Did that change? Oh,
Good job, Perry.
Oh, Perry, the confetti is falling down all around the house right now. Do you want to tell us real quick what you're going to do with your 100 billion?
It's an honor. Thank you so much. This is all thanks to watching Dana's CCU on the topic. So thank you, Dana.
Go, Dana, go. Hey, thank you, everyone. This timed out perfectly. We love all of you. We hope you had a lot of fun. And the breakout rooms are going to end here, I guess, in another 15 seconds. So we just hope that you had a really fun time with this. And we'll share the link where you can do this back in your own home if you wanted to try it out with your chapter. I'll make sure to share it in the group leader forums after tonight.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had fun in those breakout rooms. It's been a blast. Thank you to all the staff who worked hard to put this together. Thank you to all of you for the things that you do. I hope you have some fun local parties too. And it's been a good night. And I think we have my very most favorite video to send you out the door. And then, hey, let's just find a reason to do this again sometime.
Well put. We'll put all the links that we used in the event page tomorrow, and this video will be uploaded if you want to use it for your local celebrations too. Thank you all so much tonight, and we'll close with a reminder of who we are.